Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
Raw, live from Madison Square Garden. Very historic show. They're live from New York City.
Yeah, as you guys know, Madison Square Garden is one of the biggest arenas in the world, and it's pretty much the home of wrestling. It's where all of history has been made throughout WWE.
And to start off the first Raw in years at Madison Square Garden, none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin decides to come out, and he starts to remember a couple of memories that happened at Madison Square Garden, and he gets right down to the chase. He's like, I'm actually really here for something, and that something is that he's here for the contract signing between Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman.
Yeah, pretty much they needed someone to take control of the situation if something were to go down, so the contract signing would get signed.
Yes. He's there to basically take care of business, if we can put it that way. So he calls out Braun Strowman, so Braun Strowman comes out, and then he also calls out the Universal Champion, Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins comes out, and he's like, wow, we're in Madison Square Garden, and we're here with none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin, and everybody starts to say, what? To Seth Rollins, which is something he admits that he hates, but because Stone Cold is there, he's gonna have to deal with it tonight.
Yeah, and then I was looking forward to Braun Strowman coming out to see how they were going to react, because keep in mind, these two guys are going to defend their titles at Clash of Champions, but also they're going to face each other, so I really wanted to see how the contract signing was going to go, if Braun Strowman was going to act and attack Seth Rollins, or Seth Rollins was going to attack Braun Strowman.
Surprisingly not. Both men were able to get through the contract signing. Obviously, there was some talking smack on there, obviously, because that's the way contract signings work. But at the end of the day, they ended up not brawling, but instead, AJ Styles decides to take it upon himself and come out and actually start insulting Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he tells him, you need to stay out of it, because this has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, and I see where AJ Styles is going. He's jealous, not jealous, but he's pretty much upset that his club members, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, are not getting a rematch for their tag team titles that they lost a couple weeks ago, and I see where he's coming from. Just trying to speak up for his friends.
I completely understand as well where he is coming from, and he does ask Stone Cold, you had to earn your opportunities. Everybody pretty much had to earn their opportunities. These guys just stare at the Universal Championship or the Tag Team Championships, and now they just get an opportunity, and he doesn't think that's fair. And I think a part of that comes from him thinking that the OC should have all the gold.
Yeah, and he's pretty much upset that the OC doesn't have the gold up to this point, and he did make a very interesting point of Stone Cold. Yeah, not all you gotta do is look at the title and you get a title picture. So AJ Styles is pretty upset.
Yeah, he is. He even went as far as calling Stone Cold an old fart. I mean, that's disrespectful, because Stone Cold Steve Austin is a legend. But let me tell you, he ended up paying for that, because Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman definitely had the back of Stone Cold. So they go and they attack the OC. And after a little small brawl breaks out, Stone Cold leaves the ring by stunning AJ Styles.
Yeah, and AJ Styles completely forgot about Stone Cold being in the ring. And what happens? When you're alone in the ring with Stone Cold, you're pretty much going to get stunned.
Yep, seems about right. And then, moving on to the very first match of the night, which was AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander. Keep in mind, Cedric Alexander already has an advantage, and that is that AJ Styles just took a stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, but at the same time, Cedric Alexander came in with this at disadvantage, because if you guys remember, the OC attacked him backstage a couple weeks ago. So he walks in with a little shoulder injury, and you can see the kinesiology tape all over his, I believe it was his left shoulder.
Yeah, seems about right. But he also starts dominating this match. He's controlling the pace. He is not giving AJ Styles any opportunity to capitalize, and he knows that if he does, that minimizes his opportunity to actually being able to defeating AJ Styles.
But AJ Styles, having the experience that he has and being all around the world, he's pretty much letting Cedric Alexander control the match because he knows that at some point Cedric Alexander is going to make a mistake, and that's where AJ was going to capitalize.
Yes, and I do believe that is where AJ capitalized. AJ was picking his spots, and that's brilliant because as a veteran, he has to know when is his opportunity to actually capitalize on the mistakes of other competitors, and that's exactly what he was doing in this match. But I also feel like Cedric Alexander was able to adapt to AJ Styles super, super quickly, and that's something that really helped him out.
And AJ would completely kill Cedric Alexander's momentum. As soon as he was trying to build momentum, AJ Styles would figure out a way how to attack that injured shoulder.
Yes. And also, it wasn't unexpected, but the OC decides that they were going to interfere in this match as soon as Cedric Alexander starts capitalizing even more on AJ Styles. And once they saw AJ was in danger, they decided they were going to take matters into their own hands.
Yeah, they're trying to make a statement to the entire WWE roster that nobody messes with the OC, regardless of who it is. And I think the statement came through.
100%. Alright, let's move on to Roman Reigns. Very, very quickly, he comes out and he presents the Connors Cure Kids for this month, and I think that's very great that WWE is doing that. I think this is a side of the business that nobody else really talks about. So props to Roman Reigns, props to the WWE for that. Okay, now let's move on to the very next match of the night, which was Becky Lynch teaming up with her frenemy, Charlotte Flair, versus pretty much Boss and Hug. I don't think they're calling it that now, but Sasha Banks and Bayley.
Very, very interesting after the attacks that Sasha Banks and Bayley have been doing on Charlotte and on Becky Lynch. This is Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair's opportunity to get revenge on them.
And before we actually get into the match, this was the best match of the night. Hands down, I think this is the match that stole the show.
Yeah, the woman definitely killed it in this match, proving why they are the 4 horsewomen, why they are the pinnacle of wrestling right now.
Yep, and Sasha Banks has been saying it over the last couple of weeks. She is the standard of the women's division, and this match definitely set the bar for what the women's division should be doing week in and week out.
It definitely looked like Sasha and Bayley did not lose a beat or a step.
With you on that one, I think that was their biggest advantage going into this match, and I think the biggest disadvantage that Becky and Charlotte were going to have is the egos. Keep in mind, these women hated each other up until tonight. And really going into this match, we didn't know how Charlotte and Becky were going to act. We saw Becky and Charlotte backstage before the match, and we saw that Becky Lynch was angry. Even when Charlotte came out, Becky was angry. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is going to be a crucial match for both Becky and Charlotte. If they can't coexist, they're pretty much showing their weakness to the other team.
Yeah, and surprisingly, they ended up working together and ended up getting a win over Sasha and Bayley.
Yes, definitely interesting match.
And definitely Charlotte and Becky Lynch build up momentum towards their matches on Sunday for Clash of Champions. So we'll see how the outcome on Sunday ends up being.
But I do want to point out something very, very quickly. Charlotte Flair pinned her opponent at Clash of Champions. She pinned Bayley clean. So now this puts you in a situation where which woman walks out of Clash of Champion? Champion. Because, as I said, Charlotte pinned Bayley. If this happens on Sunday, we're going to crown a 10-time and new women's champion.
And another question is, will Sasha be in Bayley's corner during the match at Charlotte on Sunday? We'll see what happens.
Some very interesting questions that only we'll have the answers to on Sunday, but we didn't get in depth into this match for a reason. We do have our Patreon, which is dedicated to women's wrestling, so if you want a full in-depth analysis of the women's evolution or the women's match, head over to our Patreon for only $5. You can get that and more. Alright, moving on to Rey Mysterio versus Grand Metalik.
Great return from Rey Mysterio. We know he hasn't been in action for maybe, 2 weeks, if anything, after he lost to Andrade, and he pretty much gave us that he was going to retire, and Dominic, his son, was able to convince him, no, it's not time for you to retire. So this was his first match back.
Yes, but you also have to keep in mind, this is his first match back, but he's facing someone that has that lucha background. You know, he's facing somebody that can finally match not only his speed, but his athleticism and his style.
Yeah, obviously that lucha libre background came into play in this match, and we saw it because we saw all the technical holds, the quickness, the way they were moving around in the ring. It was just, if you were to look at the match, you're like, okay, this is straight up lucha libre style.
Yes, and I do have to mention something very quickly though. Gran Metalik, he seemed very comfortable in the ring, and I feel like this is the first match I really saw who Gran Metalik was, and I think it comes from that lucha background. I saw him be extremely confident, extremely comfortable with Rey Mysterio, and I think this is what we need from Gran Metalik to see how great he really is of a talent, and he was able to finally prove how great he is and the great matches that he can have.
I think all of that has to do is because he is partnered with the Lucha House Party, so they really don't get exposed as much in singles competition. But I feel that the Lucha House Party, once they start getting singles competition and they start rolling the ball on that, we're going to see more of what Lucha House Party could potentially give to us.
And I do think it's hard for Lucha House Party to actually fully go to their full potential because there really isn't a lot of guys that can match the wrestling style. You know, their style is completely different to pretty much anybody else's in the roster other than Rey Mysterio, Andrade, and there may be a couple more. But other than that, I mean, there really is nobody else that can match their in-ring wrestling style.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, you have guys maybe that like 205 roster that could probably compete with them. Guys like maybe Ricochet, Finn Balor. But again, it was a great match from Gran Metalik. We got to see a whole different side of him.
And Rey Mysterio's experience is obviously showing in this match. He was picking and choosing his spots, which is great because that tells you he's a veteran. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he was maintaining himself at the spot where he wanted. He was outsmarting Gran Metalik.
Something we have to keep an eye out on Rey Mysterio is, as Gran Metalik was launching himself off the top rope, he pretty much kind of landed on his neck a little bit. Mysterio kind of tweaked it, but we'll see how that turns out. It didn't look like it was as serious, but hopefully it's not, and we get to see more Mysterio.
Yes. Alright, moving on to Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin versus Ricochet. This, pretty much the winner of this match was going to go on to the finals to decide who's going to become King of the Ring. Very interesting scenario because it wasn't supposed to be a triple threat, and it became a triple threat because of the no contest between Ricochet and Samoa Joe.
Yeah, that happened last week, and right from the get-go, the disadvantage was for Baron Corbin. Because Baron Corbin, keep in mind, had already won his match, and he had expected this match to be a one-on-one match, but it ended up being a triple threat.
Keep in mind, they're all at a disadvantage because Ricochet can pin Baron Corbin. Samoa Joe can make either Baron Corbin or Ricochet tap, and he doesn't have to make the other one lose in order for him to actually win this match, and that's at the disadvantage all these competitors are at right now. And I think the right choice was made when it comes to this match. Baron Corbin did end up winning this match, and I think it couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, and Baron Corbin, being who he is, outsmarted pretty much all his competitors. He was able to be in the ring, was pretty much picking and choosing his moments to get inside the match, which was smart and something that you should do in a triple threat match.
Yes, and he realized how big of a target he actually had. He realized that first he had to take down Samoa Joe. And then he realized, you know what, I also have to take down Ricochet, because if I do that, I have a better chance. And at the end of the day, he was letting Samoa Joe and Ricochet do the rest of the work, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to chill back. I'm still going to fight, because obviously he has to give them a fight, right? But he did decide, you know what, I'm going to decide when I'm going to go inside the ring and steal this match and steal my moment, and that is exactly what he did. He saw the perfect opportunity, he capitalized on it, and he went for it. He is the ultimate opportunist.
I don't blame him. If it was in my playbook, I would have done the exact same thing. He played it out smart, and Baron Corbin, in my opinion, is the favorite, like we've been saying, to win the King of the Ring tournament.
If I had to be honest with you, yes, I see Ricochet as a target. Yes, I see Samoa Joe as a target because of who he is. But deeply analyzing this match, if you really think about it, I think the most dangerous competitor going into this match was right off the bat, Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin and also Samoa Joe, because you knew that Samoa Joe, as soon as he hit that coquina clutch, it was pretty much over. And obviously Samoa Joe's power was gonna play into this.
Yes, and obviously Samoa Joe is smart. He's brilliant. No one can take that away from him. But I think if there was somebody that can match his brain, it was definitely going to be Baron Corbin, and I think that's where the challenge was going to be. Ricochet unfortunately came out short, but he did give a match. He was the breakout star of this match for sure.
Yeah, and I felt that he relied too much on his speed and was trying to look for an opportunity to capitalize, kind of like what Baron Corbin did. But unfortunately, he came out short just because, like you said, Baron Corbin was able to steal the match and advance to the final for the King of the Ring tournament.
Yes, 100%. So now it's interesting. I believe it's going to be Chad Gable versus Elias tomorrow on Smackdown. Quick prediction, who do you think qualifies? Or who moves on to the final?
I would like to see Elias versus Baron Corbin, but we'll see what happens.
I agree with you on that one. I like to see Elias versus Baron Corbin, especially because they've been allies for so long now. But given the fact that Chad Gable has been getting a really big push, I think him being put against somebody like Baron Corbin would do so much for his career.
Yeah, and not only that, but he came into this tournament being an underdog. Me personally, not to underestimate Chad Gable, but I thought Andrade was going to get the victory over him, and I'm pretty sure you did too, and I'm pretty sure all the rest of the siblings did as well, that Andrade was going to pick up the ranking, but he came out short.
Yeah. And I mean, the guy deserves the opportunity to go into the finals. I think at this point, he's earned it.
Can Chad Gable beat Elias? Yes, I believe he could beat him. But me personally, I would like to see Elias versus Baron Corbin because I think it would be a great, great match.
Yes. All right, moving on to Lacey Evans versus Natalya. We've seen this match a couple of times. I believe this is the second or third time we might see this match. But each time, it's different. You know, each time there is something that each woman has to bring to the table, and I like this new Natalya. She's more aggressive, she's focused, she's determined, she knows exactly what she wants, and I think, I said it last week, Sasha Banks brought a whole new spark to this Natalya.
Yeah, and I feel that this Natalya is trying to make a statement and be like, look, you guys may see me as this nice, caring person, but not no more. She is pretty much defending herself from everybody and trying to make a statement like, look, you guys are not going to pick on me anymore.
Exactly, because I do feel like everybody always backstabs Natty in the back. And I think this is her saying, you know what, enough of that. I'm going to really prove to you guys who the real Natalya is. And I'm loving it because this is a whole new Natalya. She's bringing something new to a table. Something we haven't seen from Natalya ever or in a really, really long time.
Yeah, she's showing more aggression in the ring and not letting the opponents capitalize as much as they want.
I think we haven't seen this Natalya since she had that feud with Nikki. And I think ever since that time, we really haven't seen anyone that was able to bring that side out in Natalya up until now. And that's very dangerous. That makes her very, very dangerous because she's going to go after what she wants and she's out to seek revenge. And I think she hasn't really been able to really fully get her hands on Sasha Banks the way she's wanted. Yeah, she got a match against her, but I think she wasn't fully satisfied.
No, and then Lacey Evans just proving why she is one of the breakout stars in the women's division this year. I mean, just pretty much took it to Natty. She had an impressive victory last week, and you saw that she did her homework. When Natty was trying to capitalize in the sharpshooter, she would immediately find a way how to break from it, or would be close to the ropes.
She's going to be a really big star. Armando predicted it since the Royal Rumble, I believe it's when it was. She's going to be huge, and I think putting her with Natty is only making Lacey Evans an even better competitor. And yes, people might say it's repetitive, but look at all the differences between their first match and their match now. You know, there's a huge difference there, and I think that comes from her being put with somebody with the experience of Natalya.
The only thing that kind of ends up biting Lacey Evans is that she takes too much time to execute the moonsault. A lot of times she's not quicker. If she were to be a little bit quicker on that, I think she would have more effect in this instead of like bringing out the napkin and going like this. She should focus a little bit more on staying on her opponent. Other than that, I think she is phenomenal. She's doing a great job, and why not? Yeah, she didn't beat Becky Lynch, but maybe down the road in a couple months she could potentially be, either Raw Women's Champion or who knows, maybe even SmackDown.
She has some amazing matches no matter who you put her up against, so she's definitely a top star. You have to keep a very, very close eye on Lacey Evans. More on Lacey Evans coming later on. Alright, let's move on to our main event. Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, Cedric Alexander, and the Viking Raiders versus the OC, Ziggler, and Robert Roode.
One hell of a team. Seth Rollins, Strowman, Cedric, and the Viking Raiders. For me, that would be my Survivor Series team if I were to start picking my teams.
That definitely is quite a unique team, and I think it's filled with powerhouses, and I think it's filled with enough fly hires, and every single type of style you could ever possibly think of is incorporated in that one team.
Not excluding Seth Rollins from this, these will probably be my guys, the Viking Raiders, the Monster Among Men, and maybe Cedric Alexander, and just one more pick off of that. And I think that would be one great team.
Yeah, I think that would be an amazing team. I'd probably throw like Mysterio or somebody who would fully be able to fit and adapt to everybody else to be able to, execute a perfect Survivor Series team.
And on the other side, like you said, you have the OC and Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. That's another potential great team for Survivor Series. So if you really look at this match, it has all the potential to be the best match of the night, which it surely was one of the top ones.
This match was pretty even all the way around. The only thing that one team had that the other one wasn't was the powerhouses. That's about it. I mean, yes, you have Gallows and Anderson, but can they really match to somebody of the size of Braun Strowman and the Viking Raiders? No. So technically that's the only thing this team lacked, but they were able to easily adapt to the type of match they were in. They isolated Cedric Alexander for as far and as long as they could, and they kept keeping each other fresh. Frequent tags all the way around. They worked extremely well together, and I think that's something that the other team underestimated from them.
Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, and the OC, like you said, did a great job on isolating Cedric Alexander, but they also did the same thing to Seth Rollins. The key here is that they did not let the powerhouses, the Viking Raiders, and Braun Strowman get into the match, because they knew that as soon as they got into the match, they were going to be game changers. And sure enough, what happened was Seth Rollins was able to tag his partner, the Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman, and I think that's what changed the entire complicity of this match.
Yeah, because for the good first 15 minutes of this match, it was nothing but the OC, Roode, and Ziggler. Like, that's all it was. They kept dominating this match, and as I said, frequent tags all the way around, and the moment Seth tagged, that's it. That changed the entire match, and Braun Strowman came in, and he cleaned house, he took everybody out, and he demonstrated his power. But also, as soon as the Viking Raiders came in, that's it. It was pretty much over. You knew who the winning team was going to be.
Yeah, and the strategy worked to a certain point, but how long were they able to keep that? And they didn't, because Seth Rollins, like you said, was able to capitalize and get a tag, I'm sorry.
I think the biggest mistake from the OC, Ziggler, and Roode was them not going to the apron or over by where the ring is and picking a fight with somebody like Strowman and the Viking Raiders, because I feel like if they would have taken them outside of the ring, it would have not lowered, but it would have upped their chances of them being able to actually beat this team. You know what I mean? And I feel like if they would have focused more on them, their chances would have increased, because they looked at it as in Seth and Cedric Alexander are easy targets. If they would have eliminated the three powerhouses in this match, I think they would have had a better chance of actually coming out victorious.
I agree with you on that one, but I had another one that they could have done it. They probably just outsmarted the powerhouses and Seth Rollins and Cedric Alexander. I think that would have been a better option. You have AJ Styles and the OC who have the experience of being a tag team, and if anybody were able to outsmart the Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, Cedric Alexander, and the Viking Raiders, it could have been the OC and Dolph Ziggler.
I could also see that.
What they decided to go with the other strategy was take out the smaller guys first.
Yes, and I think that's where their mistake was. They should have focused on the big guys, make sure they're out, and then focus on the small guys and be able to get your victory that way. But, anyways, before we do end the show, Stone Cold comes out, he celebrates, they all have a, what is it?
Steve Weiser.
Steve Weiser, there you go.
As you guys know, Stone Cold likes to drink a lot of beer.
Yeah, so they celebrated, and overall it was a great show. If I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it a 9, and I think for a Raw, that's a pretty high rating. You get a lot of good Raws, but sometimes it's really at that point where it's like an 8. I think it's a solid 9 this time.
I think it's an 8.5. Getting up there. First couple hours were pretty good. The last one was kind of like, eh. But other than that, it was a good show. It was entertaining. We liked it. Full of surprises. Definitely recommend if you guys to go back and watch the show.
Very excited for tomorrow's show, though. Smackdown is also on in Madison Square Garden. Very interesting. We'll keep you guys updated with that. And remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Become a part of our family today. Become a part of the siblings. And remember, we do have a Patreon. I will leave the link to that below. We'll bring you nothing more than women's wrestling content. You'll get more on Lacey Evans and Natalia. You'll get more on the 4 Horsewomen match that we actually got to see. And more women's matches to come. That will be coming to you guys on Friday. So, for those of you that do not know what WWS stands for, Armando, what does WWS stand for?
Wrestling with Siblings. Thank you guys so much, and see you guys next time.